How's it going? My name's James. Welcome back to the channel. And it's been a while. I feel like that could almost be a channel catchphrase at that point. The number of times that I've said, it's been a while. And then I don't upload a video for 6 months. Anyway, I thought now would be a good time to kind of get back into the booktube thing just because life happened, life kind of got away. And really, I've been wanting to create more content and post more content a lot, but I thought that it would be more important for me to kind of prioritize the actual reading that we would be talking about. And so that's what I've been doing. The last few months, I have been just really catching up on my reading, catching up on my TBR, trying to get those series that I initially planned to read this year knocked out. I finished one, I'm about to finish the second one, so that feels really good. But I thought the nice, easy way to kind of ease my way back into booktube would just be a simple little monthly TBR. And what better way to kick the TBRs back off again than with possibly my most ambitious TBR that I have ever undertaken, and it only has 4 books. And really 3 of them are the ones that I can't say concerned about, but just ones that I know will be a lot to make sure that I'm actually finishing them in May. So yeah, without just beating around the bush anymore, we'll just jump straight into it. So the first book that I want to read this month is something that has been, like I said, it's been on my TBR for a while, this year actually, and it is my most anticipated book of the year. It's something that I was just dying to sink my teeth into. Life happened. I didn't even really read much for a month, and so now I'm kind of catching up, and that is Tyranny of Faith by Richard Swan. This is, like I said, my most anticipated book of the year. I pre-ordered it from the Broken Binding. It is signed and it is signed and plated, and Justice of Kings was one of my surprise favorite books last year, and so I'm really just super excited to get into this. And I'm gonna read this first because this is the shortest book that I plan to read in May by a few hundred pages. Really, I just know that if it's as unputdownable as the Justice of Kings was for me, I'm gonna read it really quick. I'm gonna fly through this. I actually started it a few months ago. I think I got not even 100 pages in, and so I'm just gonna restart it this week, start fresh, and get back into it. And I'm really looking forward to see what's happening with Helena and Von Volt and Dubine and just all the rest of the politics that are getting involved. What I read of it a few months ago and what I remember of it, he just had already expanded the scope of the world so much, which is what I was hoping. I think I even mentioned it in my Justice of Kings review, that I hoped in the next book to see the world kind of expand a little bit more, and that we got a little bit more lore about the Justices. And I mean, like I said, not even 100 pages into it, he was already doing it. And so I am super stoked to dive back into Richard Swan's Empire of the Wolf series, and I'm just really looking forward to seeing what more Richard Swan has for us in this series. Highly recommend. I cannot recommend the Justice of Kings enough if you haven't read this series. And like I said, I'm sure the Tyranny of Faith will be just as good, if not better. The next book that I want to talk about is actually one that midway through the series I switched to, well, I hybrid read the 3rd book, and then here I'm probably going to end up just listening to the 4th one on audio, which whenever I first started listening to them, I thought I was absolutely insane for doing, because these books are not short and they are not simple. I'm just gonna grab the Wall of Storms so that I can hold a book while I'm talking about it. But I've actually already started listening to Speaking Bones, and we'll be finishing that this month for sure. This series has been it's been a delight. I agree with Publishers Weekly. It's been an absolute delight. The world that Ken Liu has crafted, not just in the plot of the characters that we've been following for the last 3 books, but the legends and the lore that was established in the first book that has continued on throughout the series as both motivating, kind of in the same way that our own legends motivate us and our own stories motivate us in the real world. He established this almost not quite mythology, but just these legendary heroes, these folk heroes in the Grace of Kings. And those characters have now carried out in legend and in story through the rest of the series in such a unique way. I've never read anything like that, where the first book in a series literally feels more like a prequel or a primer, and then the rest of the back half of the series has really felt more like a trilogy, which has been really special. I think trilogies are kind of my sweet spot. for what feels good in a series. I'm really, really, really excited to finish Speaking Bones. What I've listened to already has just been great. I'm hoping to pick up a copy of it, and if I get maybe a little bit ahead of my reading this month, I might hybrid read it too. I really get more out of it, I've found, from doing that. And so I'd love to be able to finish out this series, reading it and listening to it. Michael Kramer does the audio, and so if you've wanted to try and get into this series, I would say it's worth the listen for Michael Kramer's voice alone, and his pronunciations are always very consistent, and he personifies people really well. But I will say the names are very difficult to follow at first. Like I said, I'm 4 books in, and every once in a while I'm having to back up a little bit just to remember who we're listening to, which is one of the trouble of audio, listening to this series on audio. But I want to make sure that I'm really comprehending it and really digging in, and so I've only been listening whenever I have time to really focus on it. And if I find that I zone out, I start the chapter over, because I really want to engage with this series and finish this series super strong. Because like I said, not even just with the lore and the world building and stuff, the actual story structure I have found to be very unique and very different from how a lot of stories and novels that I've read, traditional novels that I've read this last year, have been structured. And so really, the Dandelion Dynasty has just felt like such I know it's a cliche to say a breath of fresh air, but it really is. Yeah, that one will probably take me a little bit, but like I said, I can kind of consistently chuck away at it with audio. And so, Speaking Bones, second-ish book that I'm listening to or reading this month. The next one is one for all 5 of us, it feels like, who are still doing the Malazan read-along. I actually, disclaimer, kind of cheated a little bit on the Malazan read-along. I skipped Dead House Gates because I actually remembered Dead House Gates a lot. I had a buddy, my buddy Corbin, read it for the first time. He was kind of live texting as things were happening in that book, and things really happened in that book. And so as he was kind of texting that stuff, it was kind of refreshing my memory. And just with kind of all the life that was happening and the lack of time that I had to read, I didn't really want to spend that time on a reread. I wanted to read through series. Like, I finished The Faithful and the Fallen, and so I really wanted to prioritize that series. And so I actually decided to skip Dead House Gates because I remembered it pretty well and just jump straight into Memories of Ice. Don't come at me, I lost the dust cover in our move. But that's fine, because I think I'm going to end up, this is a series that I'm going to end up probably rebuying in some form of consistent, which might also, from what I understand, be like a fruitless endeavor. I feel like it's insanely hard to have like a consistent, complete looking Malazan collection, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, Memories of Ice, I've basically been waiting 1.5 years or 2 years to really dig into this, and I feel like that with the traction, even though there's not a lot of us, I feel like that are still very active in reading the Malazan read-along that's happening over on the Grimoire Discord. I personally have just kind of hit that point in my life again where I feel like I need some Steven Erikson in my life. Especially getting to talk with Corbin as he was reading the book for the first time really just made me have that yearning and that desire to once again feel that world. And I actually think our buddy Robert's going to start joining us in Memories of Ice too. And Robert has already read, I don't remember how much of Malazan, but he never finished it. And so I think he's going to try and push through to the finish with us as well. And so Memories of Ice, like I said, is a big, chunky book. I think it's pretty close to 1,000 pages, pretty close to right at 1,000 pages. And that's a lot for me. I am not the fastest reader. I actually have been using this book tracking app, this like session tracking app that I really love. It's called Bookly. I might do a video about it just because of how much I love it and how in-depth the tracking features are. And I'm kind of discovering that my reading has slowed a lot. And it depends on content, depends on what book. But I imagine for something that is dense like Memories of Ice, this might be a book that might bleed over into June just a little bit because it is so dense and so many pages and so wordy and there's a lot of content happening. And so I'm gonna try and have a more disciplined reading schedule to make sure that I can at least get through this guy this month because, like I said, I'm just ready for some more Malazan in my life. Malazan? Malazan, whatever. However you say it. Steven Erikson said he doesn't care, so I'm just gonna say it however it feels comfortable. Memories of Ice, book number 3 for May. The last book that I'm gonna talk about for May is one that I don't own yet, shame on me, but it is one that I know I'm probably going to love because I'm loving the first book in this series so much. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably got tired of all of my story posts. I know my wife did this last weekend, of posting about Ship of Magic this weekend. First book in the Live Ship Traders by Robin Hobb. Robin Hobb, in a lot of ways, like Erickson, is one of those authors that I have just felt that desire to come back to and to read more, and Ship of Magic has just been wonderful. It has just been such a great voyage. Oh, I hate that I said that, but I'm gonna put it in there. It has just been absolutely wonderful. I'm gonna have a review video about it soon, because it really, just in the same way that Farseer did for me, Hobb just has magical writing. She really just knows how to turn a sentence in a way that really just stirs your soul and makes you think. And her character work is just absolutely insane. They are very slow books. I would never recommend Hobb to somebody who is looking for action and high adventure and this crazy amount of really fast-moving John Gwynne-esque plots. I just kind of felt like that I've been in the mood for a cozy, curl-up character story. And I don't even really like nautical stories that much. I don't normally lean towards like pirate stories or anything like that. And it has me so excited to continue in the realm of the Elderlings, which is one of my priority series for the year. I'm feeling a little behind in it. I wasn't actually even planning on starting it until a little bit later, but now that the Discord has that read along and Matt on Books has been kind of spearheading that, I decided to move my reading plans up, and I have not regretted it whatsoever. It has just been an absolute special read. I can already tell that, if these books get better from book one, I'm in for something really special. I'm in for another series like Farseer that is just going to stick with me for the rest of my life. I think I've said numerous times on this channel that Royal Assassin is probably my favorite book that I've ever read. It's not a first-person story, it's a multi-POV story, which is the first time to read something like that from Hobb, and she's just crushing it. I know that the depth of emotion that I can feel when reading Robin Hobb can vary a lot, and so I'm just anticipating some really painful moments in the future, but I know that the character development and the journey to get there is just going to be so worth it. I actually found Ship of Destiny at our local library book sale, which I'll probably have a haul video for all the books that I got from that. So that's what this is. I don't have Mad Ship yet, which I guess I've spent this entire time talking about the Live Ship Traders and didn't mention that the next book I want to read is Mad Ship. And I'm really, just in case you can't tell by the way that I just gushed about the series as a whole and Robin Hobb as a whole instead of talking about the book, I'm just so excited for it. I cannot wait. I think I'm just gonna bite the bullet and order the matching nice ones, because as much as I already adore this series, I adore the first book. These are straight up like romance novel covers, and I don't really read romance. No shade if you do, but anyway, I just think I'm gonna bite the bullet and eventually have that full matching Realm of the Elderling set that everybody has, because they just look so nice on my shelf. They don't look quite as nice as the illustrated Farseer editions, but I think that that's a series that I can justify owning multiple editions of. Anyway, like I said, not a lot of books on the TBR for May, but I think between the 4 that are on there is about 3,800 pages or something like that. A lot of pages for somebody like me. And I highly anticipate Malazan probably spilling over into June, just with how long and how dense that book is, and I'm totally fine with that. I think that these TBR videos can be really good for accountability and good to let people know, hey, this is what I'm reading, I want to have conversations about this. But I also don't think that they should be something that you hold yourself to too strictly and forego, mood reading whatsoever. I also know there might be some releases this month in May that I have either forgotten about or just kind of catch my eye. And so I want to leave a little bit of room to be able to read what I want to, but really that's kind of what I'm doing with this TBR anyway, is I'm really only reading series that I'm very excited about, I'm very excited to dig into. I've kind of caught up a little bit on my backlog for the year. I've kind of pushed some series that I think I finished Faithful and the Fallen, and I think I'm gonna wait a little while before I shift to Of Blood and Bone. I love John Gwynne, I love his writing. I think I'm just gonna wait for a little while before I get back into that world, back into the Banished Lands. Maybe wait until we have some announcement on Bloodsworn 3, when that's gonna happen, and maybe read that trilogy to kind of get hyped up again for the new Bloodsworn book. So anyway, thank you for watching. It feels good to be making videos again. Just wanted to say thanks for watching, and if you're new here, click the subscribe button, like it really helps the video out, and drop a comment for what you're planning to read for May. The beginning of the month is always an exciting time for the readers who set those monthly goals and like to keep up with them, and so drop what you're going to be reading in the comments below, and we'll catch you in the next one.